Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to begin with the Congolese national anthem.
Unis par le sort, unis dans le fort pour l'indépendance. Dressons nos fronts, longtemps groupés, et pour de bon, prenons le plus bel élan, dans la paix au peuple ardent. Par le labeur, nous bâtirons un pays plus beau qu'avant, dans la paix citoyenne. Entonnez l'hymne sacré de votre solidarité, fièrement saluez l'emblème d'or de votre souveraineté. Congo, don béni, Congo, des aïeux, Congo, au pays, Congo, bien-aimé, Congo, nous peuplerons ton sol et nous assurerons ta grandeur. 30 juin au doux soleil, 30 juin du 30 juin, jour sacré soit le témoin, jour sacré de l'immortel, serment de liberté, que nous léguons à notre postérité pour toujours.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am doing this show in English. I'm specifically speaking to the African heads of state. The African heads of state, I'm going to speak on Joseph Kabila, on Felix Tshisekedi, and on the DRC. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am Professor Yalengi Ngemi, a native Congolese of the DRC, even though sometimes people think I'm from South Africa because Ngemi sounds like Ngema in South Africa, but I'm a native Congolese speaking to you from the United States. As who am I to speak to the heads of state of Africa and to all Africans? I am a Professor Yalengi Ngemi. I am the president who represented the opposition of all Congolese in the late 1980s and 1990s, all the opposition parties that were meeting in Kinshasa at the national conference. I was elected president of the movement at the time that was called the UDPS. At that time, it was a political party that represented all the political groups in the late 1980s, early 1990s. As most people do not know that the group called, or the political party called UDPS was founded by three major members of the Congolese Congress, namely by Ngalula Pandanjila, by Lumbu Maloba, by Lusanga Ngele. Those three started the movement that became UDPS in 1982. That was opposing Mobutu, and the three of them wrote a 52-page letter that Mobutu used to imprison them. Just an aside, Etienne Tshisekedi will join them afterwards. They called him to join the group, but he did not start neither the movement nor the party UDPS. So I'm the president who represented all the Congolese people in America during that time. That's number one. Number two, I am Sheikh Anta Diop scholar. Most people, most African heads of state, most intellectuals know who Sheikh Anta Diop is. I am a Sheikh Anta Diop scholar in the fact that not only I have lectured on Sheikh Anta Diop's teaching, but I am also the scholar who translated his masterpiece that I'm going to show you, his masterpiece that is called Civilization or Barbarism. In the middle, you see the blue book. That is my translation of Sheikh Anta Diop's masterpiece on the left in French, called Civilisation ou Barbarie in French. I translated in English, and I've been teaching on his on the book and also on Sheikh Anta Diop. So I'm a Sheikh Anta Diop scholar. Not only that, I am also a writer, and I am also the first book on the situation in the DRC, what we call the genocide in the DRC. I wrote the first book on the genocide. You see it there on the right. The book is titled Genocide in the Congo. In parentheses, Zaire, because at the time it was called Zaire, in the name of Bill Clinton, of the Paris Club, and of the mining conglomerates. So it is. So that book was the first book written by anyone on what has been happening in the Congo. So I wrote that book in 2000. No one else has written a book on the genocide in the Congo before I did. That's my book. So if I'm speaking to you heads of state, it is because I know I am a researcher, I'm a historian, and in the United States, I have lectured on and I have taught biology, genetics, environmental science, and math. And also, I have taught also French, of course, since I speak French was my first language. I've taught that too. So I'm speaking to you now about the DRC as I titled it. I want to start with Joseph Kabila, because I see that many of the heads of state of Africa are supporting and actually supporting Joseph Kabila in what is going on now in the Congo, where they are supporting him, where he has gone now to the eastern part of the Congo to stay in Goma. But who is Joseph Kabila? Most of you do not know who Joseph Kabila is, his real identity. Joseph Kabila, number one, he is not a Congolese. He's not a Congolese native. He's not a Congolese citizen. He never acquired citizenship. He was not born in the Congo. So I'm going to try to tell you the truth. Why? Because as everybody knows, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And it is about time that the African leaders of all stripes, it doesn't matter who they are, and I'm going to maybe make an exception, all African leaders beside Rwanda and Uganda, all African leaders need to know the truth about who Joseph Kabila is and what he has done in the DRC. So I'm going to take you through some evidence that I'm putting here for you. Joseph Kabila is a born Rwandan Tutsi. He was born in Tanzania when his father, Christopher Kanambe, I'm going to show you soon, and his mother, Marceline Mukamuguje, birthed him in Tanzania. When he grew up in Rwanda under his uncle, James Kabarebe, who you see in that picture, the young Hippolyte Kanambe in a blue shirt with his uncle, maternal uncle, James Kabarebe, who was one of the officers in the Rwandan Tutsi Mono Army called the Rwanda Patriotic Army, RPA. So he is not a Congolese. He is a Rwandan Tutsi. Right there you see him with his uncle, James Kabarebe. He grew up in Rwanda. His uncle, James Kabarebe, then inserted him in the Rwandan Tutsi army that was preparing to invade the DRC in 1996. Here you see James Kabarebe standing on the left side, and Hippolyte Kanambe, that's his real name. The guy you call Joseph Kabila, his real name is Hippolyte Kanambe. He's standing there looking at his uncle James Kabarebe, and he's wearing the Rwandan army uniform, the Rwandan Tutsi army uniform. The Rwandan army of Paul Kagame. Hippolyte Kanambe is in the middle, standing next to his uncle, his maternal uncle, James Kabarebe, who's standing on the left looking at him. So I want to make sure that you know the person you're calling Joseph Kabila, he is not a son of Laurent Desire Kabila. We're going to talk about that, but he is a Rwandan Tutsi who was born in Tanzania, grew up under his uncle, maternal uncle James Kabarebe in Rwanda, joined the army of Paul Kagame that was preparing to invade the DRC. At the time is the year 1996. Okay, now, so if we go to the next one, this is again the young Hippolyte Kanambe. He's in the army, in the Rwandan army, they called him Commandant Hippo because of his first name, Hippolyte, Commandant Hippo. That's what they called him, as a young intelligence officer of the Rwandan Patriotic Army, of the Rwandan Patriotic Front of Paul Kagame. So he is not a Congolese. He was never a Congolese soldier in a Congolese army. He is going to be part of the army that is going to invade the DRC along with Laurent Desire Kabila, because the Rwandan army, the Ugandan armies, those two armies came together. They came up with a group called AFDL so that they can use it to invade the DRC in 1996. He is not a Congolese. What is the relationship, or how did Hippolyte Kanambe come to be called Joseph Kabila? Again, when they were invading the army, the Rwandan Tutsi army of Paul Kagame came up with a strategy. Why? Because this young man, as a soldier of Rwanda, his biological mother, Marceline Mukamuguje, who was living in Tanzania, his biological father, Christopher Kanambe, was an associate of Laurent Desire Kabila in Tanzania. They all were in Tanzania. Okay? Now, when Christopher Kanambe was killed or died, Laurent Desire Kabila, who was a Muslim, took Hippolyte Kanambe's mother as a wife at that time, this young man was no longer living in Tanzania, who was living in Rwanda, and his uncle had joined the Rwandan army. But his mother was living with Laurent Desire Kabila, who had other wives too. So Paul Kagame and the Rwandan intelligence or the Rwandan officers, they come up with a strategy to try to take this young man, put him next close to Laurent Desire Kabila so that he can be as a watch to watch Laurent Desire Kabila to make sure that Laurent Desire Kabila does not betray them. So, but he alone, when they invaded the DRC, everybody, all the Rwandan soldiers called him Commandant Hippo. Commandant Hippo. That's what they called him. All the way to the time where they got to Kinshasa in 1997. Okay? So his name is Hippolyte Kanambe. So that was a strategy that was used by Paul Kagame and the Rwandan army for them to keep an eye on Laurent Desire Kabila. So how and when did Hippolyte Kanambe become Joseph Kabila? Before we get there, now here you are seeing Hippolyte Kanambe as a bodyguard of Paul Kagame. You see he has a special uniform with the other bodyguard on the right, and he was a bodyguard shown on the left, and Paul Kagame in the front. We see the regular soldiers have a different uniform. He has a different uniform. That is Hippolyte Kanambe behind Paul Kagame as his personal bodyguard. Why? Because the young soldier, Hippolyte Kanambe, in order for you to be part of Paul Kagame's inner bodyguards, you had to be somebody who is a cold-blood killer. You had to kill without pity. You had to kill with total disregard. When they told you kill, you killed. That is why he was a close bodyguard of Paul Kagame, as you see in this picture. Paul Kagame with young Hippolyte Kanambe behind him and another bodyguard on the right. Okay. Now, here is the picture of Hippolyte Kanambe and his father. On the left, you have his father, Christopher Kanambe's picture. On the right, you have young Hippolyte Kanambe, the one you're calling today Joseph Kabila. That's him. So why I'm showing this picture? Because as a biology teacher, as a genetics teacher, there is a concept that we call in genetics phenotype. The phenotype explains when the son or the child looks like the mother or the father. This is called phenotype. It is called physical makeup. Our physical makeup explains our genetic makeup or is a manifestation of our genetic makeup. So in this case, the physical makeup of young Hippolyte Kanambe shows that he resembles his biological father. So that's something that it cannot be denied. In fact, there were people who were saying, of those who doubted that Hippolyte Kanambe was the son of Christopher Kanambe, and for people to prove that he is not the son of Laurent Desire Kabila, they told him, okay, get what we call a genetic test done. let's get a genetic test done to see if your genes are the same as those of the direct children of Laurent Desire Kabila. Hippolyte Kanambe refused to do that. He refused to do that because he knows that his father is not Laurent Desire Kabila. His father is Christopher Kanambe, as you see in this picture. Why it is important to know that Joseph Kabila is not the son of Laurent Desire Kabila. Because, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and every other African person who wants to know, this young man has committed incredible crimes in the DRC. And I am going to speak on them a little while, but I want you to know, in 2017, after doing research, after collecting all the evidence that pertain to the identity, to the origins, and to who Joseph Kabila, so-called Joseph Kabila is, I put together a book that I wrote. This is the book. It's called the Red Book. Our Red Book came out in December 2017. The title in English is Joseph Kabila, quote unquote, Identity Thief, Imposter, and Rwandan Trojan Horse in Congo. Again, Joseph Kabila, quote unquote, Identity Thief, Imposter, and Rwandan Trojan Horse in the Congo. This Red Book, it came out in December 2017. Because we live in America, because I'm a president, I was a president of a group of opposition Congolese. I dealt with the administration in Washington, D.C. I dealt with the political movement, with the political people. And I live in New York. So I went to the United Nations. It was during the time of President Bush's first term. I went to the UN when Nikki Haley was the ambassador of the US government to the United Nations. I went and gave her 5 copies of this Red Book. I want you to follow me carefully. I gave her 5 copies. 1 copy went to the White House with President Bush, so they know who Joseph Kabila really is, the guy you call Joseph Kabila. So this Red Book, and listen carefully, in January 2018, you heard how the U.S. mobilized its army to be ready to go to the Congo, and if it had to. Nikki Haley went to Kinshasa, met one-on-one with Joseph Kabila, and she showed him this book, this Red Book, and told him as to what this book contains. It contained everything to show that Hippolyte Kanambe was not Congolese. Nikki Haley said, if you want to try to impose yourself again as president in 2018, America is going to remove you by force, and America is going to expose your false identity because you are not Congolese, you are a Rwandan Tutsi. So this Red Book was shown to Hippolyte Kanambe in January 2018. That is one of the main reasons why in 2018, Hippolyte Kanambe did not try to remain president. As you know, from 2001 to 2018, Hippolyte Kanambe remained and kept on staying in power by force. So if it wasn't for the United States of America, if it were not for President Trump and Nikki Haley, if it wasn't for the threat that they threatened Hippolyte Kanambe, that he will be removed by force, Hippolyte Kanambe would have remained as president in 2018. That is a fact. I'm giving you a fact that what we lived here from the United States. Now, so what happened after that? After Nikki Haley and the United States threatened Hippolyte Kanambe and the Tutsi, the Paul Kagame and the Tutsi think tank, because they have a think tank. They have a think tank in Kinshasa. They have a think tank sorry, give me 1 second. The Rwandan think tank, what did they do? They have been preparing, they have been looking for a Congolese who had no education, who didn't know nothing about international affairs, didn't know nothing about how to run a country, didn't know nothing about anything, whether running a country or things that happen in the world. So they had come up with one of Tshisekedi's son by the name of Felix Tshilombo, who's now using the name of his father, Tshisekedi. Why did they pick up Felix? They picked up Felix because Felix did not even graduate from high school. Felix was living in Belgium just like a hoodlum. The only job that he did in Europe was to sell pizzas, and he couldn't even sell pizza well. So he was living just like that. He had no job, he had no education, but he loved money, he loved life, he loved drinking, okay? He loved women. So Hippolyte Kanambe and the Rwandan Tutsi prepared him for them to put him in power. Now, follow me carefully. So, with the request and the threat from the United States, Hippolyte Kanambe, they organized elections in 2018. They organized the election in 2018. Who won the elections? Everybody knows. The Europeans, the United States, the whole world, including the whole Africa and all Congolese, knew the majority of the Congolese people elected a guy by the name of Martin Fayulu. Martin Fayulu won the elections in 2018. Now, what happened? Of course, Hippolyte Kanambe could no longer represent himself because of the threat from Trump and the United States. So, what did he do? Well, from what we have come to find out by the people who were working around Hippolyte Kanambe and his system, they have said that so before they could pass the government to Fayulu, they met with him. Listen carefully, from what we understand now. They met with Fayulu. They told Fayulu, they said, look, let's agree that you, when you take power, you are not going to do anything to look at the crimes we have committed in a Congo, or to look at what we have, what we have stolen, or whatever. Martin Fayulu refused. Martin Fayulu said all those things will depend on the Justice Department that we put together. But Martin Fayulu said, before I can take the reins of the country, I can take power, I wanted that to be done in front of the United Nations. We needed a delegation from the United Nations, and I think he asked also for the United States and other countries. So when he said that as a request, well, Hippolyte Kanambe and the Rwandan Tutsi say, then you cannot have power. So they called in Felix Tshilombo. They called him in and they told him, they said, look, this is the deal we're going to make. Listen carefully. The deal we are going to make is this. We are going to let you be president of the DRC for one term. After 5 years, then you're gonna leave, and me, Hippolyte Kanambe, Joseph Kabila, I'm going to come back to power. So that's the deal they made. Okay? So Felix Tshilombo agreed. Well, if I can be president for 5 years and I didn't even deserve it, I didn't win the election, I'll take it. So he took it. Felix took power. Now, that power was also had conditions. They told him what he could do and what he could not do. Listen carefully. They told Felix, you can get the money, whatever money you want to get from the government. You can do whatever you want to do. We're going to let you use some of the ministerial posts where you can put the people you want to put. But on this place, on that place, you cannot choose who's going to be there. We are going to choose who to put there. That's why Felix Tshisekedi Tshilombo could not appoint the prime minister of any government in the DRC. Prime minister is chosen by Rwandan Tutsis, Hippolyte Kanambe and Kigali. They decide who's going to be prime minister. Hippolyte Kanambe and Kigali and the Rwandan Tutsis also decide who's going to be the defense minister, the minister of defense of the DRC. It is not Felix Tshisekedi who decide who's going to be a minister. So a few of these positions, only Kigali can decide who's going to be in those positions. The other thing they told Felix, they said, Felix, you can steal the money, you can travel, you can do whatever, but you cannot fix the country. You cannot fix the country. You cannot repair Kinshasa. You have to let the Kinshasa go down. In fact, this has started in 2001. I was in Kinshasa in 2000, before Laurent Desire Kabila will be killed in 2001. In 2000, when I was in Kinshasa, the road that were paved in Kinshasa, many of the roads and avenues were paved because during Mobutu, all these roads were maintained because of, again, in the city. Kinshasa was called the Beautiful during the time of Mobutu. So Laurent Desire Kabila began to try to fix those that were not were falling apart. But in 2001, when the Rwandan Tutsi killed Laurent Desire Kabila, Hippolyte Kanambe gave an order in Kinshasa that no one can try to fix the road. You can't even fix the pavement in front of your house. You have to let it go down. Nobody can, if they see you trying to fix the Kinshasa, any place, even in front of your house, you are arrested or you were charged a fine. So destroying Kinshasa was one of the keys that the Rwandan Tutsi through Hippolyte Kanambe used to try to destroy the town. And they told Felix, you cannot fix it either. Until today, Felix has not been able to fix any place, any roads in Kinshasa. So those are the things that Felix could not do in Kinshasa. They told him. Also throughout the country. Now, we need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, especially if you are a head of state in Africa, you need to know what damage the occupation by Rwandan Tutsis when they moved in Kinshasa with Laurent Desire Kabila after they killed him in 2001, what they have done. Number one, and I think it is about time that I talk to you a little bit about the crimes that this young man, Hippolyte Kanambe, that you call quote-unquote Joseph Kabila, has done. In 1996, when the army of Rwanda and Uganda moved in Zaire to try to remove Mobutu, they committed mass murder, mass massacres, beginning with a military base at Tingi, and then at Makobola, and then throughout the Congo where they were going from eastern part of the Congo all the way to the northwest to Mbandaka to Equator or Equateur, from there, and then coming down to Kinshasa to Kisangani, where the army of Rwanda and Uganda fought for them to control the diamonds business in Kisangani. Okay, they were murdering civilians, soldiers. When they come to a military base, Mobutu's military base, they would tell all the soldiers, because Mobutu soldiers did not fight. They did not fight the Rwandan and Ugandan armies. So they were kind of welcoming them because of Laurent Desire Kabila thinking they were coming to liberate the Congo. But when they will come to a military base, it will be the Rwandan soldiers who will tell them, okay, every one of you put down your weapons and come to a meeting. They will put down their weapons. They will go for a meeting. When they go for a meeting, the Rwandan army will open fire and kill everyone. That's what happened in Tingi and in Makobola. That's how they were wiping out Mobutu's soldiers. Now, when they came to Kinshasa, this young man that you call today Joseph Kabila, who, again, when they got to Kisangani, Paul Kagame and James Kabarebe told Laurent Desire Kabila that you need to introduce to the Congolese people this young man, Commandant Hippo, introduce him that his name is Joseph Kabila as your son. That was the condition they gave Laurent Desire Kabila in order for him to self-proclaim president of Congo. Of course he did it. Why? Because he didn't know what the Tutsis were planning. But he did it so he can become president. He became president. And then on the other side, They told him, they said, look, his mother, biological mother, is one of your wives anyway, so introduce him as your son, Joseph Kabila. So he did. Laurent Desire Kabila did not know that this young man is an intelligence officer of the Rwandan army, was a cold-blooded killer. And then they put a strategy around Laurent Desire Kabila where no one could access Laurent Desire Kabila without this young man knowing, to the point that every officer of the Mobutu army that wanted to talk to Laurent Desire Kabila, this young man will intercept him and kill him. So in this way, he wiped out all the Mobutu's officers who wanted to work with Laurent Desire Kabila to serve the country. He killed every one of them. Now, but that wasn't there wasn't all the killing that this young man Hippolyte Kanambe did. Now, during his reign, from 2001 to 2018, you have mass graves. In the lower Congo, he killed all the people of Bundu dia Congo. In the eastern part, in Kasai, he killed all the people of Kamwena and Sapu. In Kinshasa, you have mass graves in Maluku, on the outskirts of Kinshasa. You have mass graves throughout Kivu, throughout all the forests going from eastern part, going all the way to Kisangani. There are mass graves all over the place. That this young man, Hippolyte Kanambe, killed those people. Now, that was not the end of it. There are people that Hippolyte Kanambe killed himself. He took the weapon and killed them. One of them was a young man who had a Belgian citizenship, who went to Kinshasa to see his family. Then in the middle of the street, he saw Hippolyte Kanambe's motorcade passing. He took a stone and threw at the motorcade, and they stopped and took him to Kingakati, to Hippolyte Kanambe's house. Hippolyte Kanambe himself killed that young man by the name of Armand Tungulu. Until today, his family never saw his body. This guy, Hippolyte Kanambe, killed that young man. But there are many of them. There are many of them that he killed. Hippolyte Kanambe killed Ngoi Mukena, a man from Katanga, who actually gave him the name of Kabange. This guy gave him the name of Kabange. What did he do? He got him killed. He killed him. Why? Because he doesn't want anybody to stay there to be able to speak to history that they're the one that gave him that name. Okay, but we know that he is not from Katanga. He is a Rwandan Tutsi. Now, he killed everyone. He killed religious people. He killed foreigners. He kills everyone. He does not care. Okay? Now, these days, there are people, right now we are hearing, who supposedly are supporting Joseph Kabila for going to Goma, supporting him as if he is Congolese. Now, let me be clear. Rwandan Tutsis, whether it is Kagame, whether it is this guy Hippolyte Kanambe, whether it is the other Rwandan Tutsis who are part of this government or this group of Rwandan Tutsis who are extremists, they do not let people live. You serve them. If you're not a Rwandan Tutsi, you are going to die. They're going to kill you sooner or later. Let me give you my own case. In 2018, I told you that Nikki Haley confronted Hippolyte Kanambe Kinshasa with my red book, this red book. Well, in February of 2018, Hippolyte Kanambe and the Rwandan Tutsis contacted one of the agents who live in Dallas, Texas, in America, an albino guy by the name of Angelo. They contacted him. This guy brought 5 killers here in New York. They tried to bring me to a hotel so they could kill me like they killed James Kabarebe in South Africa. No, sorry, not James Kabarebe. Who was that? Not James Kabarebe. James Kabarebe is still in Rwanda. His name will come to me, but he is a Rwandan Tutsi officer beside Kayumba Nyamwasa. They were living with Kayumba Nyamwasa. They tried to kill both of them. So the other one's name will come to me, but they killed him in South Africa in a hotel. That's what they tried to do to me in February 2017. But I was lucky, I was warned by a friend. Okay? So Hippolyte Kanambe, the Tutsis don't play. Now, those of you Congolese who are today supporting Hippolyte Kanambe, let me remind you of what happens when you play, when you join the Rwandan Tutsis who want to control the Congo for good. Do you remember the name of somebody called Katumba Mwanke? Katumba Mwanke, a guy who was like second. You could not meet Hippolyte Kanambe without going through Katumba Mwanke. You could not see the president, Hippolyte Kanambe, without going through Katumba Mwanke. But when Katumba Mwanke became powerful enough, and became so powerful that he thought that actually he was needed by Hippolyte Kanambe and the Rwandan Tutsis, they killed him. So you Congolese who saying today you supporting Hippolyte Kanambe, tomorrow they will kill you just like they killed Katumba Mwanke. Second person, there was a professor, university professor by the name of Samba Kaputo, a very mellow professor, a very gentle professor. This is the man who was teaching Hippolyte Kanambe how to speak French, how to relate internationally, how to present himself to other foreign leaders. So he was tutoring Hippolyte Kanambe as a young 29 years old. He was traveling everywhere Hippolyte Kanambe went. Professor Samba Kaputo would go with him to tell him, this is how you do it, this is how you do it. Well, you know what they did to him? Hippolyte Kanambe killed him. Samba Kaputo is no longer alive. Just to tell you, unless you are a Rwandan Tutsi working with Hippolyte Kanambe, if you are a Congolese, sooner or later, you are going to die. I'm telling you heads of state of Africa, so you know the problem that we are having in the Congo. I can cite here the many people that Hippolyte Kanambe has killed. He killed the Cardinal Echeu, a Catholic cardinal. Cardinal Mosengo, he killed him. He killed what? You have heard of Chebeya, who was investigating the massacre of Bundudia, Congo, because he was making a report to report to the Hague on Hippolyte Kanambe. They killed him. They killed Chebeya. They killed Bazana. He killed Rossi Mukendi, Kapangala, the biological children of Laurent Désiré Kabila, especially his daughter, Aimé, who was killed in her toilet in Kinshasa. Hippolyte Kanambe sent goons who went and shot her. After they killed her, they told everyone in Kinshasa that no one, no journalist, no newspaper should even mention that Aimé Kabila was killed. They never mentioned it. Also, Laurent Désiré Kabila's sister in Katanga was also killed because she was complaining that this young man who was making himself to be Joseph Kabila was not part of her family, was not a Kabila. So Hippolyte Kanambe sent people and they killed him. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the last piece I want to introduce to you is what Hippolyte Kanambe and Paul Kagame have done to the Congolese army. Why do you think today the Congolese army is being beaten back by 4,000 or 10,000 Rwandan soldiers and M23 or whatever that group is? Why? During the time of Mobutu had an army that was so trained that when these rebels, the Tutsi rebels, invaded Rwanda from Uganda in 1990, Habyarimana sought help from Zaire. Mobutu sent a unit that went there and beat back those rebels. Paul Kagame and his rebels, they beat them back into Uganda. So Zaire had a powerful army. But what happened were two things. Number one, after they invaded the DRC in 1996, they got to Kinshasa in 1997, the first priority of the Rwandan army was to wipe out all the officers of the Mobutu's army, all of them. Watch this. They called all the officers of the army, of the Zairian army, took them to a military base in Kitona, so-called to re-educate them. And they took them there. Every morning they would take 10 of them, they would take them out and shoot them and kill them. Next morning they would take 20, they shoot them, kill them. That's what they did. Okay, now, in 2001, after the Rwandan Tutsi killed Laurent Désiré Kabila, the first thing that Hippolyte Kanambe did was to send into retirement, I think, over 500 officers of the Zairian army. Send them into retirement. As they were sending them into retirement, they were poisoning them for them to die in retirement. Meanwhile, what did he do? He took Rwandan Tutsis from Paul Kagame's army, according to the plan they had, inserted them in the Congolese army. Ladies and gentlemen of Africa, listen carefully. Hippolyte Kanambe's scheme with Paul Kagame was to insert Rwandan Tutsis into the Congolese army, so that even today, most of those who are commanding officers in the Congolese army are Rwandan Tutsis. And by the way, like I told you, Felix Tshisekedi was given an order never to touch them. So he could not remove them. Even today, he cannot remove them. Because he removes them, his life can be in jeopardy. Because that's a deal he made with the Rwandan Tutsis with Hippolyte Kanambe. So even today, as we are speaking, you are hearing that, oh, Felix is in disagreement with Paul Kagame, with the Tutsis. He is not, but he cannot of his own decide to clean the Congolese army of all these Rwandan Tutsis who were inserted in the Congolese army. He cannot do it. He cannot even appoint a different commanding officer in the east of Congo to replace those Rwandan Tutsis who are commanding the Congolese army. So what happened when they want to fight? When they want to fight, those Rwandan Tutsis who are commanding the units of the Congolese army will say, okay, pull back. Okay, put down your weapon. Okay, get away from that. And then they will leave the weapons and they will come and they will kill the Congolese. These Rwandan Tutsis pull back. So that's how it is done. How they took Goma? The same way. They took Goma because the Rwandan Tutsis who were commanding officers told the Congolese soldiers not to fight, to leave all the weapons they had and to withdraw. That's why they left everything, they withdrew. So the Rwandan army and M23 came and got all those weapons that they have now. In fact, one of the pilots of the two fighters plane of the Congolese army complained that they would send him out. Instead of him dropping his bombs on top of M23 or on top of the Rwandan army, they would tell them to go like into the jungle there when there's nobody, drop your bomb over there and come back. So he complained, he said, are we fighting or are we not fighting? So this is why today the Congolese army cannot win. Because again, the plan was to infiltrate Rwandan Tutsis. They are doing it even today. M23 is also demanding that they also be put into the Congolese army. So if they do that, the 5,000 or 10,000 Rwandan, the unit of Rwandan army is going to become a Congolese army. So when they become in a Congolese army, there's no more army that is Congolese. It is a Rwandan Tutsi actually that is being called Congolese army. So that's the situation that we have in the Congo right now. Okay? That is the situation. Now, is it that the Congolese army cannot win? No. The Congolese people left to themselves without this Rwandan Tutsis infiltrate can win the war. I think in 2014 or something, there was the Colonel Mamadou Ndala during the time of Barack Obama. He beat up M23, beat them. They had to run away back to Uganda and to Rwanda. You know what they did? Mamadou Ndala was assassinated by the order of Paul Kagame and Hippolyte Kanambe because he beat he was assassinated because he beat M23. Mamadou Ndala was killed. There was another general from Mobutu's era, General Bayuma, who was trying to win the war to push back the Tutsi army of M23 and M23. Well, what happened? Bayuma also, General Bayuma also got killed. So I am saying that to say that, ladies and gentlemen of heads of state of Africa, I want you to know that you've been lied to. You are going through what is called manipulative lying by Hippolyte Kanambe and by the Rwandan Tutsis. Now, this is our latest book. This is our latest book. This is our latest book. It is called Rwanda, 1994 to 2024. 30 years of Tutsi lies. You can get this book, Heads of State. You need to read this book because it tells you that since 1994 until today, everything about Rwanda and about Rwandan Tutsi, about Joseph so-called Joseph Kabila or Hippolyte Kanambe has been a lie. The book is in 2 languages, in English and in French. So you need to get it, and you need to read it, and you'll find out that the truth is that Hippolyte Kanambe is a Rwandan Tutsi. He's not a Congolese. And by the way, he made a deal with Felix Tshisekedi. The deal was for him to come back after 5 years. Now, you know, and we know as Congolese, especially me, as a person who's been fighting for the Congo, I know that the Congo does not belong to Rwandan Tutsis. The DRC belongs to the Congolese. Hippolyte Kanambe is not Congolese. Okay? And I've given you the evidence. Get it, read it, find out from our red book. From our red book, you'll find out everything about Hippolyte Kanambe's identity. On the cover, you have 3 pictures, again, that deals with the phenotype in genetics. You will see that the physical makeup of the young man in the middle, who's Hippolyte Kanambe, matches his father's on the right side with a hat. His phenotype does not match Laurent Desire Kabila on the left. And that book gives you all the evidence you need to know the real identity of Hippolyte Kanambe, which is the book that the Trump administration used in the first term to convince him not to seek another term in 2018. So, ladies and gentlemen, now this book is telling you now about all the evidence. By the way, the evidence is given by Rwandan Tutsis themselves, how that the Tutsis use manipulative lying since 1994. In other words, since the beginning of so-called Rwandan genocide. If you're going to read in there, you're going to find out that the Rwandan genocide, it was not a genocide of Hutus killing Tutsis. It was a co-genocide of Tutsis killing Hutus, Hutus killing Tutsis. But it was Paul Kagame and the Tutsis who triggered that genocide, because Paul Kagame didn't want to share power with the Hutus, who were the majority. He did not want to share power with them because Paul Kagame and the Tutsis who had gone into exile in Uganda, they decided that Hutus can never rule over them. And so in that plan, that's why they came back, took Rwanda, and they had a plan also to take over the DRC. Today, the DRC, as I explained to you, most of the most important positions are being controlled by Rwandan Tutsis. For instance, the Senate of the DRC, the president is a Rwandan Tutsi. The Congress of the DRC, the president is a Rwandan Tutsi. The Minister of Defense is a Rwandan Tutsi. So you're going to, all the most important positions, especially in the security area, are being controlled by Rwandan Tutsis until today. So, to conclude, I want to say a few words about Felix Tshisekedi. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders of Africa, Felix, as I said, the reason why he was chosen, put in power, because he was not educated. He does not know anything about foreign policy, anything about how to run a country, nothing about how to work. So he is there because they told him to be there and to let the Tutsis do whatever they want to do to the country. He can get the money, he steals the money, he can put a few of the people from his tribe in the different positions, but some of those positions that they told him he can't put anybody, he cannot. So that today there's a problem for the Congolese with Felix, because Felix is acting, he wanted to become an emperor. He wanted to become like a dictator. That's what he wanted to become. If it wasn't for the war that is imposed on him by the Rwandan through M23 now, and through the other guy, Nanga, who used to work for Hippolyte Kanambe. Nanga is still working for Hippolyte Kanambe. Nanga is still working for Kigali. That's why they are all together in Goma, because eastern part of the Congo is today controlled by the Rwandan army of Paul Kagame and the Tutsis. So you cannot be a Congolese and go to Goma and say you want to reunite the country. You have to be part of or working for Kigali and for Kagame for you to be eastern part of the Congo. So if you're not a Congolese who are working independently to bring peace in the Congo, if you are in the eastern part of the Congo that is controlled by Rwanda, that is as simple as it is, okay? So, but Felix now, because of that war that made him to be in a position today, he's trying to see if he can remain in power, even only on the west side of the Congo where he is. However, anybody that loves the Congo has to say that we are not so going to support either Joseph Kabila, quote unquote, or Hippolyte Kanambe, or Felix. You cannot support any one of the two. Now, if we were, today we have like a conundrum. The issue of the Congo becomes like a conundrum, ladies and gentlemen. So what can we do? Well, if the Africans were willing, African Union was willing, or there was a force that was willing to bring peace in the Congo, they have to go in there, arrest Hippolyte Kanambe, arrest Felix Tshisekedi, take them out, put them in prison or wherever, and then maybe let the guy who won the election in 2018 run the Congo, and let's see how the country is going to fare. But let me warn you, the Rwandan Tutsis in the east, Hippolyte Kanambe, Paul Kagame, the Rwandan Tutsis, M23, and all the rebel groups in eastern Congo will not want Martin Fayulu to become the president, because then he will organize to kick them out of the DRC. Now, Felix Tshisekedi is so hungry for power now, he's tasted how he can steal millions of dollars out of the bank, and how he enjoys himself traveling all over the world. Now he feels like he doesn't want to leave either. He doesn't want to leave his position. In other words, it has to be a power that is going to try to set things straight in the Congo. Ladies and gentlemen of Africa and of the world, this is the conundrum that is the DRC today. The Rwandan Tutsis are controlling most of the major positions in the Congo. They have infiltrated the army, The army cannot win any war because Tutsis are all over the place. Nobody can remove them because Felix was given order never to remove them. He can steal his money. He can do whatever he want to do. He can practice tribalism, but he cannot remove these Rwandan officers. So now we have a conundrum. The Tutsis now are gathering in Goma. They've gathered in Goma, which is next to Rwanda, which is next to Kigali. So Kanambe can go back and forth to Kigali and back and forth. So they're working together to see now how can they control, if not the whole country, maybe just the eastern part of the Congo can become part of Rwanda so they can control it, which they control already because they're controlling the minerals. They're controlling what happens over there already. So ladies and gentlemen, that's where I'm going to leave you. That's the conundrum that is the DRC. I came to you in the name of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I came to you in the name of Africa. I came to you in the name of justice. I came to you in the name of peace. We cannot have peace in the Congo when 20 million Congolese have perished at the hand of Rwandan Tutsis, ladies and gentlemen. Do you know how many countries would disappear in Africa today if 20 million of their people were killed? Since 1996, Rwandan Tutsis, they have killed 20 million Congolese, more than the Congolese who died during the robber genocide of King Leopold II. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the situation we have in the Congo. Our group, you can email us, our phone number, or you can email us. You can look up our phone number, Congo Coalition, LIOB'A. In this, you can contact us through our email. We will talk to you, especially African leaders. If you want more information, contact us. We want you to look at the DRC having this knowledge, because knowledge is power. You cannot just support Joseph Kabila because he invested some money, he gave you some money, or because you think that he is better than Felix Tshisekedi, when he, like Felix, have killed and massacred a lot of people, when he, like Tshisekedi, have stolen money. That's why he's rich. That's why the money Hippolyte Kanambe is giving you. He didn't come to Congo with money. He came as a young intelligence officer of the Rwandan army. He didn't come with anything. Where do you think he got the millions of dollars, maybe billions that he's spending now all over the world? From the Congo, from stealing it. He didn't get a salary that paid him billions of dollars. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you love Africa, if you love the DRC, if you love the people, if you love peace, if you value human life, you have to get up and defend the Congo. Get information we are giving through our books, the Red Book and this new book. And get it, and please get involved. Get involved. Get involved and speak the truth. Speak the truth to power. Speak the truth to power for the sake of those who are still alive, because the blood of the Congolese, 20 million of them have perished at the hand of Rwandan Tutsis. Okay? 20 million of them. So I leave you with the Congolese national hymnal. Because thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please share. Please share this information. Please share this information. Please share this information. And to everyone you know. God bless you. Viva Africa. Viva DRC. Amen. Ingeta.
Debout Congolais, unis par le sang, unis dans le fort. sacré de votre solidarité, fièrement saluez l'emblème d'or de votre souveraineté. Congo, don béni, Congo, des aïeux, Congo, au pays, Congo, bien-aimé, Congo, nous peuplerons ton sol et nous assurerons ta grandeur. 30 juin, ô tout soleil, 30 juin, du 30 juin, jour sacré soit le témoin, jour sacré de l'immortel, serment de liberté.